Welcome to this episode of Author Ecke. I'm Travis Davis, your host. Tell us your story. Hey everybody, welcome to Author Ecke. Today I have Elizabeth. She is located in Yakima, Washington. That is the western part of the state, if you ever get out that way. So welcome to Author Ecke. Elizabeth, tell us about yourself.
Well, hi, Travis. My name's Elizabeth Roderick, and all the books I have published so far are under the name Elizabeth Roderick. I live here in Yakima right now. Well, I've lived all over the West Coast. I grew up here, and it's farm country here.
Mm-hmm.
I've written 18 books so far, and 7 of them are published.
Wow.
And I mean, they're mostly they have to do with the intersection of dreams and reality, most of them, but I have all sorts of different genres out there. Oops, what did I do?
Nothing, you're good. We still got you.
I swiped. I couldn't see you anymore. I was looking at my email.
You're not missing nothing.
It's not very. But yeah, I mean, and I have parakeets in the background, so it's not.
Do they help you write? Do they help you write? Like,
right, do that. Put that in there.
I think they're telling me what to write.
Excellent.
Everybody else says they're not talking to me. But.
So, wow, that's a lot of books.
I mean,
can you name them all?
Oh, I have to think about it, actually.
That's all right. So what's the latest one you have out?
The latest one I have out was published in 2021, I believe. Okay. It's called Gracie and Zeus Live the Dream. And it is a it's kind of a comedy mystery in the style of Carl Hyacin. I never know how to pronounce his name.
Okay.
I just read it. But having to do with a woman and her adult foster son who is autistic but I don't write about neurodivergent people the way that most authors write about neurodivergent people, because I am autistic, and so it's just like I write about people and they happen to be like that because that's what I'm used to, you know.
Is it like your feelings coming out or your emotions when you write, or is it therapy for you? Does it help you?
I mean, yeah, it's, you know, Gracie and Zeus Live the Dream isn't a really like poignant, you know, emotional book in that way. It is just kind of a good time. But there, you know, there's always something deeper in books when you're writing them, and it's all therapy for me, just in different ways and on different levels. So it just writing very much helps me stay focused and calm and together no matter what I'm writing about. So
when you write, do you write like in a sterile environment, there's no noise, or do you like a little bit of white noise or distractions, or how do you find it best to write?
I'm very noise sensitive, these are actually my daughter's parakeets. She's in Borneo right now.
Dang.
So I brought them into my room so they wouldn't be alone. I've tried writing with music, and sometimes I'll write with music. But usually I write, my favorite time to write is in the early mornings. Like my normal schedule, if I'm allowed to set my own schedule, is I'll go to bed early, like at 8, and get up at like 2 or 3 in the morning and write. And I like to write with the windows open so I can hear the owls and the wind, if there is any, and just have quiet time when no one else is bothering me.
Well, not too open, because that owl might hear that parakeet and decide that's breakfast.
Yeah.
Let's give it or scoop it.
Usually the parakeets are asleep too until
Wow, that is early. 2
yeah.
o'clock. I like writing in the morning, but a little later than that.
Yeah, I've always had a weird schedule, and I've always been a really bad sleeper, and so I when I can, I get in the
Mhm.
habit of going to bed early and like getting sleep over with, if that makes sense, because
Yep.
then when I get up in the morning, like I can not have to like it's if I try to write at night, I'm worried about having to go to sleep and get to sleep, and it keeps me up because I'll be thinking about the story or whatever. So
I think I'm mentally exhausted by the time I want to write at night, and I just don't do it. I may write some things down or think of something, but I usually like writing in the morning where I'm, fresh and uh,
yeah,
I like listening to music when I write outside when I do it. I live in North Texas, so it was kind of hot this summer, but now it's
yeah.
going to be really nice weather, really really nice weather.
Is
So who's
it?
your publisher?
My publisher for the last one, Gracie and Zeus Live the Dream, is Cinnabar Moth,
Okay.
um, in Japan. They're, I mean, they're American expats, but they're in Japan. The other, well, 5 of my other ones are through, and then one of them I did self-publish.
Okay.
But
That is
yeah,
a lot. So you've been writing for some time. What started you on writing? Just to put your thoughts out there, and and happened.
well, it's a it's a long story. I mean, I've always written, like
Hmm.
since I was real little. Like I was really into Lord of the Rings, and so I wrote a lot of stories about unicorns and elves and knights and swords and stuff. But I didn't. I got the idea for my first series in 2004 when my daughter was 6 months old, and on my 27th birthday, um, I, I anyway, long story short, I
Hmm.
ended up having this vision of uh, where I thought I was dead for 18 hours because my ex-husband convinced me to, and it's legal here now. It wasn't then, but the statute of limitations is around. He convinced me to eat a bunch of weed brownies for my birthday because he wanted them.
Hmm.
And I don't react well to THC, and so uh, I thought I was dead for 18 hours and thought everybody was like trying to lead me, was either a spirit trying to lead me
Hmm.
to hell or through the gate to the next world. And it was this really intense experience, and it took me a long time to process it, but it eventually turned into this weird story
Oh
about
wow.
a girl who had the ability, I guess, in some cultures they call it dream walking, where you are able to lucid dream in the dream world, and the dream world is a real place and it has rules, and it um, kind of interacts with the waking world in some way. And she ends up in this cult where they are scientifically studying the other life, and like all of this stuff happens. And anyway, so I started writing that a bunch of times, but not until my daughter was a little bit older, and my ex-husband got his tenure track job in California, and we moved there, and I couldn't get work even if I'd wanted to, and I just ended up um not having any other job, and I
Hmm.
started writing 18 hours a day.
Oh wow, that's a lot of writing.
Yeah, and but I was finishing books like every 6 to 8 weeks, and so I wrote the whole series of 7 full-length novels for that first series in a year, like almost exactly a year. Like I kind of, you know, with
And can
my
you still get them on Amazon and everything? Are they still available?
those ones aren't published. I had a contract on them once, and I
Uh,
had to pull out of that contract. All my other ones are available on Amazon.
okay.
But yeah, I mean, after I finished those 7, I just kept going, and in 2 years, I wrote 14 books.
Holy
Um,
smokes, that's a lot of
and
words.
Yeah, it's a lot of words.
That's a lot of words.
I slowed down after that, and it's as I go in cycles, I guess. But
Hmm.
um, yeah, I mean, I didn't really start writing until 2013.
All right.
But
I just started in 2022. So a year and a half ago, 2 years ago, maybe about a year and a half ago, I reckon. So
it's
that's when I
a
started writing. Late
good
bloomer.
way to spend your time.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. So, so so what do you do when you're not writing? I mean, that occupies a lot of your time. I don't know if it occupies 18 hours of your time now, but,
I
uh,
mean, it can't now because I don't have. And my husband at the time, like, not like, kind of gave me an ultimatum that I had to stop writing because it was a waste of my time.
uh-huh.
And it wasn't that specifically, but that I wasn't like, well, I'm just going to go write then. But it was just the fact that he was like that we ended
Hmm.
up splitting up, and so I've had to make my own living.
Right.
Um, and so I'm doing like um have been helping run my family's little organic fruit and vegetable farm, and chickens and goats and stuff, and
Okay.
doing some other things, but I do legal transcription.
Oh, all
As
right.
you-
No, there's some stories there.
yeah, one of my works in progress. It's got the idea directly from a court. It's really
Holy smokes.
doing those trials is really interesting. Sometimes it's real sad, but
Yeah, you're kind of like that. This is this is so unbelievable that it's got to be fiction.
yeah,
But it's not.
but it's
That's the
not.
thing of it. That's the bad part of it.
People
That's
are really out here
terrible.
living their lives
I
like
know. I know. Terrible. Who knows what they're doing? But
this.
I mean that's good though. I mean, so now you definitely like to write and you seem to have a knack for it. So how do you market your books? I mean, you always hear, and I was under the same premonition that, or just falsehood that once you write a book, boom, that's it. That's you know, like
That's the easy
things are,
part.
how much is a book going to cost me to write? Oh, it's free. It ain't going to cost you. I mean, there's a lot involved in writing a book and marketing it. And so how do you market? What do you think you do book signings? How do you get your name out?
I have, and um, but it's the part that I'm bad at.
Mm-hmm.
Like I, the way I do best, since so many of, well, I think basically all of them have in some way some connection to mental health or neurodivergence, not because I have tried specifically to have some political statement about mental
Right.
health, but
Right.
because that's just, the reality that I live in. I do best when I market myself in person as a person with mental health struggles who writes books,
Mm-hmm.
and people who haven't heard of my book specifically will come and see me speak because of that. And so like I've done best with events with the National Alliance on Mental Illness and stuff like that.
That's a good
Although
idea.
that's I think ultimately not like I don't want people to buy my books because they are like, oh, it's so good that she's able to function in society still, and I'll support her. Like I want people
Yeah.
to buy my books because I like them, and so
Right.
like, but I'm not.
I'm looking for sympathy. That's what.
Yeah, I mean, I'll take it. Whatever. But
Yeah, I'm old. Come on, buy them before there's no more. So.
buy them so my daughter will be able to eat when I die. Like I don't know. Either way.
Yep.
But yeah, I'm bad. I'm bad. That's the part that I'm bad at,
I think a
and I
lot of
think
authors are like that. They're introverted more than
yeah.
extroverted. And I think
Plus,
you have
it's
to
just
actually go out there and do it.
when it's like there's no blueprint for that. Like, of course, there's no blueprint for writing a book either. Like,
Mm-hmm.
everybody wants to sell you a blueprint for it, but it's mostly just practice makes perfect,
Mm-hmm.
and finding your story and how you want to tell it. But for marketing, it's like whatever works for one person works for that person. And there's a lot of luck involved and skills that are way different from the skills you need to write a book.
Yeah, there's
And
not. I don't think there's a cookie cutter approach, and that's the same as launching a book. I mean, there's so much you need to do before you launch a book, and nobody will tell you that.
yeah,
Really, how much before do you start marketing it, right?
yeah,
And how do you get all these things in place so when it does launch, that people will see it? Because I mean, I don't know how many books are published a day through Amazon, but it is a lot.
yeah, a lot. And, but also it's never too late. Like I've had
Mm-hmm.
friends who publish a book and it doesn't really go anywhere. And then 10 years later, after the publishing
Mm-hmm.
date, suddenly the book takes off. Like it,
Mm-hmm.
it's good to have a running start. And like, unfortunately now with the Amazon algorithms, like we all hate Amazon, right? But let's
Yeah.
be real, like you need to be on Amazon
Yes.
unless you're some weirdo. Like you need to be on Amazon in order to sell books. And Amazon wants you to publish a book every 3 to 6 months or less. And so like I mean, if I were more organized, I'd just start putting out my backlist every 2 to 3
Yeah.
months. But
My goal is a book a year. That's
it's a good
that's
goal.
kind of my goal. And then I talk to a lot of authors and get some real good advice actually from a lot of folks. It's a very close knit community. Nobody is trying to take books away from you from sales. Everybody wants everybody to succeed because there's so much coming out there, and readers are consuming so much in very on ebook or audio or whatever written, and it's so much out there. But he was saying that how long do you market a book after it's out? And he thought 6 months. It's regularly actively marketing for about 3 years,
Yeah.
and then the more books that you put out, like in a series, about the sixth or fifth or sixth book then the series kind of takes off from that perspective. But a lot of people give up after one or two books. And I mean, there's competition out there, especially not with one of the big, big, 2 or 3 publishers, because they're in the know. That's all I
Yeah.
can say.
But I mean, a lot of my friends with the big publishers too, like it's hit or miss with them. I
They still
know.
market, and they still have to market.
Yep.
All these folks market. Kyle Mills, Jack Carr, all these folks market themselves because you're marketing a brand. You're not
Yep.
marketing a book.
Yep.
They want to get your brand, and then because your brand, they'll buy a book.
Yeah.
That's what you hope for.
And I mean, people like series because they find something they like and they want to read more of it. And it's not like I'm a reader of romance, right? Like I don't write just straight, like all my books have romantic subplots, but I don't write straight romance. But if I find like a Regency romance writer that I like, I will read all of their books. And it's not because readers don't want something new or are not smart or something. It's just like when you find something you like, you and like and the good thing about writing is it's not competition. Like if
Right.
someone buys someone else's book and then that person gives a shout out to another author that they like their readers might go over to their books. Like we all pull each other up the ladder. And so, yeah,
That's right. It's a very interesting community. I mean,
yeah,
I went on a stretch of Clive Klessler, right? Reading all his books.
yeah,
Because I enjoyed them and I didn't have to think. Because I
yeah,
knew this was like, whoa, there ain't no way. But it's enjoyable. They're entertainment. And that's why I talked to another author. He goes, your books just have to be entertaining. Right? That's what somebody wants, is unless you're, reading about mathematics or physics or something, good luck. But even in nonfiction, somebody wants to be entertained about the story that you're writing about, or even fiction.
yeah.
So that's true. I mean, that's
Like
just really kind of
literary
gross.
fiction, like I'm not a huge fan like of literary fiction where it's just about pretty words and there's not a lot of plot, but like those win awards, but they don't sell very well.
No, they don't.
I mean,
I usually try to put like 2 plots in my book or 3 and have them match up at the end for
yeah.
some odd reason.
Do
Um,
you do outlines?
no,
Yeah,
not
me
really.
either.
Probably should,
I mean,
but
if I
no.
did an outline, if I knew it was going to happen, I wouldn't write it because I write it to see what's going to happen.
Right.
And
Yeah. I'm very extemporaneous. Just kind of uh, flow of thought
yeah,
to be able and then follow that thought out and finish the thought. Write a chapter, pages, or whatever. Then I need to put this somewhere, and I'll put books together that I've partially written because it makes sense to put them together when I didn't really know at the time.
yeah, I've done that too. Or I'll get like some random idea, and I'm like, oh, I should make a book out of that. It's like, no, I can shove it into this
Oh
book.
yeah, yeah. You just have to match up
That
with
can feel-
that. That's the thing that you have to be careful of is timelines and matching. If I say I'm going to do this on page 10, where did I finish that? Because somebody's going to know that you didn't finish, and they'll let you
Yeah,
know that you didn't finish. Because reviews are important. Um, I don't know, people that just the folks who are just reading books. It's important to put a review, whether you put a sentence, a paragraph, or not anything but a star rating.
yeah,
That is so important. That really helps at Amazon. And
yeah,
what you'll find is these a lot of these well-known authors, by the time their book comes out, somehow they already have 200 or 300 reviews of that book. So that's why they're always on the bestseller. You go, well, I don't know 200 or 300 people. I mean, I do, but who wants to read my books? So how are you going to get these people, right? That's to me, that's the thing. That's that big marketing engine in the background that is unbeknownst to everybody.
yeah. I mean, and yeah, you can have on some of my first ones, especially, like I had a list of prior readers, and
Mm-hmm.
the publisher helped with that a little, where they would send the um what do you call it, preliminary copy out, or
Yeah,
the
author's copy. Yeah,
yeah, out to a whole bunch of people, and they
yeah.
would do reviews. And yeah, I mean, that's the good thing about having a publisher, is they are able to get it out to a few more people than you are, unless you're really extroverted and not
Mm-hmm.
like me at all and do have hundreds of friends.
Yeah, I mean that you got to get it out and out in the folks' hands. Let them read it. Let them
Yeah.
make sure. Hey, do a review. Have you noticed how quiet the parrots are because they're listening to us?
Yeah.
They think it's very interesting.
Yeah, they're going to start writing books now.
They're going to start parroting it back. So, but so I mean, I do, but I do like the marketing aspect of meeting folks, and especially when somebody sees a book, they start, oh, that's a great book, or I get it, or I always have the thing is that's real. I have to tell them it's fiction, but you want it to be as real as it can,
Yeah.
to make it believable.
Yeah. Well, and like, part of what makes good characters is actually getting out in the world and meeting people,
Mm-hmm.
and like, yeah, I love meeting other people. I love talking about writing. I have a really good like critique group. um but like, I have gotten a lot of character ideas from real people that I meet in the world, and
Mm-hmm.
that's just, you know in life and in writing, the the best practice is to make as many friends as you can. And
Yes.
although you do want to keep some people at a safe distance, even
Yeah.
if
Yeah.
it's entertaining.
Yeah. Yes, you do. Now, do all your books take place in the same area, the same town, or are they all over?
um they're the weird thing, the first ones I wrote, since I was in California, they mostly started out in California.
Mm-hmm.
um but like the first series, the cult is in the middle of Utah somewhere, and like almost all of my books,
Yes. Yes.
like, but like, an odd number of them end up in Las Vegas, at least for a short period of time. Because I have a weird
Touring, or are they doing a show, or are they booked for the summer at the Caesars or something, or
no
they just end
one.
up in?
Well, in one of them, like they're actually part of like an underground sex club, and just like hustling money out of people.
Mhm.
And one of them, the main antagonist, owns a casino and he was able to he has a patent on software that runs the slot machines.
Oh wow!
That's and has this
I
really good
wish I'd have thought of that.
algorithm. What?
wish I'd have thought of that.
I know.
I'd make it a killing.
Yeah, and he did. He's a very rich evil man. But yeah, like, do most of your books take place in Texas, or
No, none of them
no?
do.
No.
They take place in Northern Virginia, Russia, China,
Oh, cool.
and then the Cobalt, a little Russia, mainly China, Mongolia, Northern Virginia, and the one I'm writing now in Lake Como. The one I'm writing now, a little bit in Lake Como, Geneva, Berlin. So Northern Virginia, because that's where like the intelligence communities are and stuff, and so kind of based out of there. But yeah, I just some places I've been, and I said, okay, that's kind of cool place. It's, especially the German aspect. I lived in Germany for 9 years, so the whole German aspect of it. But I like writing about different places, but the same characters. So the characters I created in the first one, I carry them through, even though you don't have to read in sequence, right, one after another, asynchronously.
I like things like that.
Yeah.
Like,
so, and I try to humor it up a little bit, or but it kind of wacko kind of guys, but very, very, and I have a very, very strong female characters in my book, because they have to take care of the men who are kind of loopy sometimes, but they're pretty good too. But yeah.
Do you have to go to a place in order to write about it, or are you good at writing places you haven't been?
I can, if I haven't been there, I can look up on, the internet, do some, I do a lot of research for my books, even the technology that I write in the books that doesn't exist, or I don't think that it exists. I want to be able to, if it did exist, it would be believable. So I do a lot of research on the books, technology and locations. And if I say I take a left on the street, you got to be able to take a left on that street.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, I mean, for me, it's a good excuse for me to travel, because I feel I really want to soak in the vibe of a place to write about it. And yeah, for the research for the first series, since the cult that she joins is run by this guy who's like a theoretical mathematician who went bonkers gonzo and started this cult thing. Like, I actually ended up going back to school and like studying quantum physics.
Oh wow.
And I ended up liking chemistry better, and I was going to get my degree, get into grad school for chemistry before life changed. But right. Like, it's my failing, I think, that I have to feel like, and in the books, like, I didn't put any equations in there or anything. Just like, I felt like I needed to understand stuff better before I could have it as an element in the book.
Yeah, I did a lot of research on oil wells and stuff like that in my first book, because I had to be able to understand and articulate it for somebody can understand it. Not to a depth of, I'm going to become a wildcatter or nothing, just of how an oil well works and the functioning of it and everything. But I do like that part, because, you learn things, and you go to parties and you start talking about that to people, and they just walk off because they're saying, it's just not interesting.
Yeah, that's what writing is like, is becoming way too interested in these little things that no one else.
I know. I mean, there's people around me. I look around, everybody's gone. I'm still talking. I'm like,
well, as long as it's not like researching how to murder people and then.
No. I'm surprised I haven't. I do like, Chinese army stuff or Korean, North Koreans and Russians. I'm like, I put my VPN on just in case.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean,
But,
I deal a lot with mob, like underground businessmen. And yeah, you gotta have your VPN on.
yeah, you got to be careful. I mean, I don't know. I do a lot of that stuff because I enjoy it. All the time. I like to do it. You just learn stuff and and some like I've been a lot almost. I've been a lot of places in the world. And I can almost I meet somebody and they go, "Oh, I'm from wherever." I go, "Oh, I've been there," and I really have been there. Not just flown in, but been there and spent some time. And you're talking.
In
I
the
was in
army
Toronto.
or
No, in the army
yeah,
mostly, but then out of the army. I was
yeah.
in Toronto, and you learn a little bit tidbits about information. And I was at somewhere and said, "Oh, I'm from Toronto." Like, "Oh, I've been in Toronto, really?" I go, "You know that Yonge Street, not Yonge, is the longest continuous street in the world,
I didn't know
and
that.
it's in Canada. Yeah, it's called. So you don't say Young because it's not Young, it's Yonge. You
Yeah.
gotta
I'll
watch
try
that.
to remember that if I go. Hopefully,
Yeah,
I'll
it's
go
a
to Toronto.
little tidbits, but yeah. So but I do enjoy that. I'll figure out how to put that in a book, because one of the characters, Will, is like super smart, but he's comes up with these things like, "Oh, did you know, about so and so?" They go, "How do you know that stuff?" He goes, "Well, I watch a lot of TV." Uh, you know, the things like, "How do you know these things?" Or and then one of the characters, Lucy's a ex-Chinese soldier, but she has an eidetic memory. But even more than that, she's much, much more than that. It's amazing what she can recall. Super smart.
I wish I was like that.
I can't remember anything.
No,
Not at all.
my phone
So
remembers things for me.
no. So what do you got in the works? So what are you conniving?
Well, I should be trying to get some of my backlist published, but right now I am working on a one book about a a woman, well, about this young woman in Los Angeles who thinks she's going to be an actress, and then there's this woman who's like, it's just really popular. She's not famous, but everybody in LA knows her. She's like this rich lady, and she has all these weird parties, and lures this young woman in, and it becomes slowly clear that she is some sort of ancient trickster goddess, like trying to
Oh wow.
mess up people's lives for towards some weird immortal person's goal. That don't want to. I say I don't want to spoil it, but I don't even know what it is yet. We'll figure it out later.
That's what's going to make it great. You don't know yet. There's a surprise at the end.
That's why
The
I have to
twist.
write it to find out. Yeah.
The twist. And you don't have to
Yeah.
kill everybody in a book to make it interesting either. That's
Yeah.
kind of cool about stuff. Well, great, Elizabeth. So, what kind of parting advice do you have any aspiring writer?
Any aspiring writer, I would tell them to not sweat the small stuff and not worry about whether what you're writing is good or whether it's going to be the next big thing, but to just write for the joy of it. And you always have to edit, you always should run stuff through critique groups.
Yes.
But find good critique partners that
Constructive.
that are constructive, not just that they're gonna not tell you what you want to hear or tell you what you want to hear, but that they understand your vision enough that they're able to give you advice that you're able to use.
I would agree with that.
But mostly just like, don't be afraid of writing it incorrectly. Like, don't delay writing because you feel like you need to read a million books about how to write. Like,
right.
you get good at it by doing it. Just like
I think you're right.
Anything.
I think every one of my books gets better because I look for things differently, right? or
Yeah.
what to look for, and but I agree 100%. So, well, it was great meeting you today. So, what's the latest book you got out?
The latest one out is Gracie and Zeus Live the Dream, and that is it's out through Cinnabar Moth. It's on Amazon. I think pretty much anywhere you can get books, you can get it.
And how do
and
people find you?
You can find me online at talesfrompurgatory.com, or just search for Elizabeth Roderick, author, on Amazon. I can find myself on Amazon, and hopefully other people can too. The way Google works nowadays.
What about Twitter, Facebook, Instagram?
I am on Twitter. I'm Lids Rodney, LIDSRODNEY. Although Twitter is kind of going downhill, and I'm Tales from Purgatory on TikTok.
Okay, excellent. So, folks, go out there, check her books out, and send her a note, tell her to get the other books, redo the other books, and get them back out. Don't just keep them to herself. Let the masses read them.
Send me hate mail or anything like.
But constructive hate mail. Don't be just an asshole. Be nice.
Yeah.
Be nice. All right, Elizabeth.
Thank you very much for having me.
All right. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Thank you for listening to Author Ecke. There'll be another episode next week. Please stop by and start your own story. We can't wait to hear it.